the unmistakable sound of an 81mm mortar. Just one element of a major exercise taking place on Salisbury Plain. It's all about ensuring the British Army's battalions and regiments are fit to fight, ready to deploy anywhere around the world. But the high standards expected by the Army, so it can be sure its people are able to take on and win wars, is a job that requires validation. And putting the soldiers through their paces on this exercise is the Combat Ready Training Centre, known as the CRTC.
So we design, we deliver and we evaluate combat ready and mission ready training. So specifically field training exercises and live firing exercises to prepare our forces for readiness and operations. We effectively establish a series of standards and then we look at our soldiers and we make sure that they are meeting those standards throughout both field training exercises and live fire.
BFBS Forces News was granted exclusive access to a major exercise involving the 1st Battalion Scots Guards, who soon will be validated to deploy on operations for the next 2 years. It's called Exercise Wesk Storm and entails the battalion deploying on Salisbury Plain for 2 whole months.
Bring it over so you can dig that up and we'll just flip it over.
We caught up with the guardsmen as they dug in during what's known as the defensive phase of the exercise. So is there an art to it? Like, there's no art to this. This is just like just hit it.
I see what you can do.
There we go. Watch, did you say watch your back? Stand back, everyone. All right. And how much longer are you doing it for?
Waist deep.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's quite hard work, isn't it? 19-year-old Yasmin Spriggs recently paraded on Troop in the Colour. Within days, she traded her bearskin for a Kevlar helmet.
Best bit about being in infantry, especially the guards, is that we're very dual role. Like I say, we switch from very quickly. Yeah, and just being face to face with the enemy. That's like the best bit about being an infantryman.
While the troops have been deployed on Salisbury Plain, they've missed out on major national events, a reminder of the sacrifices that go hand in hand with military service. Are you aware of things going on outside the exercise?
Nah.
No?
Nah, not really, nah.
Is that what being a soldier's about? Like, we're on exercise, this is it. It doesn't matter what's going on.
Yeah, you think about the task, you don't really think about what's going on back there.
The defensive phase sees the Scots Guards defending positions from attack by a well-trained enemy force, provided in the exercise by soldiers from the 2nd Battalion, Royal Anglian Regiment. They're known as Team Hannibal. It's all controlled from a high-tech nerve centre, where every movement carried out by the soldiers is pored over by experts. In this room, there are analysts, and they're doing real-time observations on their screens of what the troops are actually doing right now on the ground. The analysts collect the information and they feed it back so that it all fits in to the after-action review. It all works through a system called TES, clever technology worn by every soldier on the ground. It consists of lasers which activate when a weapon is fired, and sensors which detect hits, such as gunshots, on the individual being targeted by the weapon system. It means every shot fired can be traced electronically, and injuries can be played out in the exercise in real time. At what's known as the mission brief, the CRTC team carefully plan the stages of what will be a difficult 24 hours for the Scots Guards.
What if we where are we at with the training audience right now? They're tired. They're bloody tired. They've been on the hoof. They'll have been digging all night. They'll be feeling sorry for themselves, and they'll be very nervous about what they're about to face because they're a training audience that wants to win.
Back on the ground, one of the company commanders positions his soldiers ready for whatever lies ahead.
So right now we're halfway through mission 2, which is our defensive mission. So at the moment I've got the company out around me and they're building defensive positions ready to repel expected enemy attacks in the next circa 12 hours.
What are you expecting and how, more importantly, will you respond?
So we have received probing attacks over the last 24 hours, and those probing attacks are building in intensity. So we're expecting that to continue. So we're expecting to see around last light tonight and then through the night building attacks of platoon up to company strength of dismounts, mounted, and then armoured vehicles as well.
Don't forget, the idea here is to test the Scots Guards, and nobody is taking anything for granted. How much of it is, we're being watched here and we need to get validated?
That is a great question. It's absolutely both all the way through. It is a learning opportunity at every step of the way, and we have observer controller mentors who look after us and give us advice and build us through the missions to ensure that everyone is developing, and that's true for the most junior guardsman and it's true for the battle group commander. For us, it's about training for operations, and that's why we're here. The purpose of the army is to fight and win wars on land, and we need to be ready to go and do that.
As dusk sets in, the soldiers can do nothing more than remain alert and wait for what promises to be a busy night.
Well, the exercise is really quite complex in its design. So what you may see is a battalion of soldiers dug in a series of trenches in a defensive position. But what we've done is brought a whole synthetic wrap to that. So effectively, when they look through a set of specific binoculars, they see avatars, enemy tanks that aren't there on the ground, but when they put the binoculars up, there they are. They're able to engage them with virtual fires and bring together both the live and the virtual to have a full battle picture in front of them, so that they're able to replicate the sort of tasks they might do should they deploy to the east of Europe.
As the attack dies down, the CRTC controlling staff throw a spanner in the works, a surprise chemical attack simulated by pyrotechnics and an actual substance that will trigger detection sensors. Realism is key, and it's some hours before the men and women of the Scots Guards can take off their respirators. We're about an hour on from that dawn chemical attack. The brigade has set up what's called a decontamination lane, and that's about 3 miles away from where the event took place. And what we're going to see now is those units rolling back through this place to decontaminate the chemical agent which is on them and their vehicles.
So what we can see going on here at the moment is part of the decontamination of a CBRN serial. So the troops are coming through and they will be decontaminating their vehicles and everything that's surrounding them. Whilst that's going on, the crews will then dismount and they will go through their own decontamination process in a slightly different area.
What's the training value? Why is this a part of this exercise?
So CBRN is one of those dark arts that doesn't get practiced enough. It's now being brought back into most major exercises so that we can hone our skills should we need to actually deploy into a CBRN environment.
By testing the Scots Guards battle group with a chemical attack like this, it means other units within the brigade have a chance to train their processes too. This decontamination operation is being facilitated by soldiers from the Royal Logistic Corps. How long have you been kitted out now for the CBRN stuff?
So we've been in the suits now for over 12 hours. We've been in the respirators since 0400 this morning.
And what kind of effects does that start to have on not just you, but people you're working around?
It makes anything take longer. It's incredibly workforce intensive, so when one person could conduct a job before, it's actually going to be 3 or 4 people rotating through so that they've got time to rest. And therefore, my entire squadron is on this exercise, giving 26 people a vehicle decontamination lane, a personnel decontamination lane, and then swapping through with a shift pattern. Right. It's still 12 hours in all this kit for everyone. It's not easy.
For now, it's job done. The defensive phase ends successfully for the Scots Guards, but there's more testing scenarios planned, and adaptability will be crucial. The variety of action in current conflicts means that British personnel need to be familiar with a range of potential theatres and environments. Take the Middle East, which has seen Israeli forces operating underground in tunnel networks below Gaza. CRTC is able to replicate environments like this, and a week on from the defensive phase of the exercise, the Scots Guards are back in action, this time underground. Why do we have to validate these battalions? Why does the British Army care about making sure there is a standard?
It's about two elements. It's about developing our combined arms manoeuvre capability so we get better at warfighting. But it's also about changing at the pace of relevance. So it's about modernising our own capabilities, but also being able to defeat the emerging threats as we see them arise in Ukraine, in Gaza, and across a whole series of conflicts across the globe.
Well, and what does good look like after an exercise, perhaps a 6-week-long endeavour in the field for some of these units? What does good look like at the end?
Well, good looks like better than they were at the start. And you get various standards across the British Army because you've got various start states. Some people are very operationally experienced, have done a lot of exercises. Others, for very good reasons, are much less experienced and therefore have a lower start state, and you're probably expecting a lower end state. But good is meeting the standard that we have set. That is a bar that you must meet, and that is good. The more time they have after they've met that bar, the more they're able to optimise, do more sets and reps of their capabilities, and develop their own fighting capability.
It all comes back to the main mission behind Exercise Wesk Storm. Validation. Nobody knows what's around the corner, and certainly nobody begrudges the work of defence planners whose job it is to make sure the British Army is ready to meet those challenges, whatever and wherever they may be. But one thing it can be sure of is the quality of its people and of the training it puts them through. It is, after all, what makes the British Army so universally respected around the world. James Wharton, BFBS Forces News, Salisbury Plain. Thanks for watching. For more from Forces News, like and subscribe to our channel.